your girl Jay, and welcome to Jay's Weekly Roundup, a show where I talk about the hottest topics in K-pop that happened this past week or a couple days, it depends. So we have a lot to talk about, starting with the hashtag We Need You Hoseok. So a couple days ago, thanks to efforts of ARMY, the hashtag We Need You Hoseok trended worldwide. So for those of you who don't know, Hoseok is the real name of BTS member J-Hope. So this story actually comes with a lot of confusion, even on my part, because I'm still not quite sure what actually generated this to trend. So the reason I'm actually talking about this story is because one of you lovelies, actually requested that I talk about it. So shout outs to, hold up for a second, K-pop fan Forever 77 for giving me the suggestion. And in their comment, they said that the hashtag actually came from a situation where some K-pop fans were hating on J-Hope, saying he was ugly and saying that he should leave the group. Now, apparently this had happened before. There was some hashtag that occurred a while back when J-Hope was getting hated on. So it's not actually far-fetched that something like this would happen. However, after perusing Twitter and things like that, it turns out that this actually wasn't something that came about because people were hating on J-Hope. It was just a random thing that some people did for fun. And after the story going through the grapevine and being retold, somehow along the lines, people picked up the idea that this came about because people were hating on him. But regardless of the reason, I think it was a really cool thing for ARMYs to do. And I feel like ARMYs get this bad rep because they tend to be everywhere on the internet, but it's cool to see them come together and use, their mass quantities for good. Speaking of people hating and calling people ugly, it seems that a lot of people and fans have noticed that Umji from trending group G-Friend is starting to be affected by the bashing and hate she receives non-stop online. So for those of you who don't know, poor baby Umji, ever since G-Friend debuted, she kind of had this tag to her where nasty, terrible people online would say that she was ugly and she wasn't pretty enough to be an idol and things like that. And I feel like G-Friend as a whole, they kind of get that really nasty stigma that there's no visual or whatever. But I feel like out of all of them, Umji really gets it the most, and she, it's just constant bashing on this young girl, and it's really disgusting. So starting around, I think the Me Gustas 2 era, people started to notice that Umji, just by the way she carries herself, her self-esteem was getting lower and lower. A lot of fans compared to when they debuted with Glass Bead, how happy and bright she was on stage and in public, to how towards the end of Me Gustas 2 and during rough stages, you can see that she kind of like covers her hair with her face a bit, maybe stands in the back and things like that, and just doing things that are very revealing to the fact that she probably has been reading these nasty comments of herself online, and it's really affecting her to the point where she probably thinks she doesn't deserve to be seen. There's some people who are trying to flip it on her, saying that even if these negative comments affect her, a real celebrity or a professional celebrity wouldn't let that affect how they perform and look and act on stage. And I have to say, that is bull crap. Like, how are you gonna create the problem and then somehow not try to take any of the blame for it? I can understand if you were just mean calling her ugly and then you see how it affected her and you're like, well, that's my doing, that's it. But the fact that you can't even take responsibility for your mean comments is ridiculous. And actually, a lot of people think it's ridiculous how a lot of K-celebs, like the trend now is to sue for terrible comments or harassment online. A lot of people say that's ridiculous, but I say, why not hold people accountable for how terribly they act online? A lot of people are really mean online because they have the anonymity, but that shouldn't justify just because somebody's famous and just because there's only like, I don't know, a 1 in 1,000 chance of them seeing your comment, your specific comment. Why does that mean we're allowed to be nasty and get away with that? I think that's ridiculous. And honestly, I have to admit, when I found out that, some of the things that Umji was doing was probably reflective of her taking to heart the negative comments, I had to think, girl, you famous. Like, why are you caring? You got money, you got fame, your songs are trending. But then I remember that this is a 17-year-old girl, and back when I was 17 in 1933, my self-esteem was also extremely low too. Luckily, I didn't have thousands of people, calling me ugly online. Like, if you Google Umji, one of the first related search results is Umji ugly. when you're looking her up. Like, it's right smack there. I think it's like third. Like, that's ridiculous. So if I was a 17-year-old girl and people were just constantly calling me ugly, yes, it would affect my self-esteem to the point where I couldn't even look up straight. Like, I would be terrible. And sometimes it's scary, and sometimes I forget how young these K-pop idols really are when they debut. And I know it's their decision, and I know if they didn't want to be famous, they shouldn't have did this life, but I don't know if like somebody that young is really ready for that kind of scrutiny, because there's no one, like, as bad as this is, there's no one who's going to tell these people, well, there's people who are going to tell these people to stop, but there's no one that can force people who want to say nasty things about Umji online to stop saying nasty things. Like, that's part of the job, I guess. But that doesn't change the fact that it can affect her, and it can affect anyone you say bad things about. So it's really sad to see this happening, because I definitely think since it's something that's happening to her from such a young age, I feel like it's gonna stick with her for the long haul. Even if people start to turn around and say, oh, you know what, Umji's really pretty, it will definitely stick with her, and it's really sad to see, you know, something happen to her. And also, you guys, I want you guys to think twice before you say mean stuff about people online, because you never know if they're reading or not. And that goes double for you people who be saying mean things about me in the comments. I see it. All right, I try not to respond, but I see it. So for the last topic of the day, we're gonna curve a bit out of the K-pop sphere and talk about ex-member of FX Sulli, or should I just say actress Sulli now? So ever since Sulli had officially left FX and, you know, was revealed to be dating Choiza and started her life as an actress, she's come under a lot of criticism. But one of the things that I found really weird that people seem to target a lot is her Instagram. So she started this Instagram, and a lot of the stuff she posts is, I don't want to say weird, but it's a bit different. And especially coming from being in this like sheltered idol group, even though FX has done some strange concepts, but just being like this pretty princess, Sulli, and then going to kind of just posting whatever you want on your Instagram. Now, a lot of people say leave her alone. A lot of people are saying the pictures aren't even that bad. However, I feel like it's kind of reached its height with a recent Instagram video that she posted where she squirted whipped cream into her mouth and kind of just looked at the camera. Now, for our innocent viewers, our babies, how are you? I know I have a demographic from 13 to 17. I read the analytics. While some of you may view it innocently, a lot of people said that it seemed to have sexual undertones. Now, it's kind of hard to weigh in whether it did or what was going through Sulli's head when she made the video, because in my opinion, I'm like the same age as Sulli, so I feel like she's not innocent to know what she was doing when she uploaded the video. Like, if it was just, and the thing is, it doesn't necessarily make it bad. If there was sexual undertones, doesn't mean she's Satan's daughter all of a sudden. But, you know, if it was intentional, then I feel like it's okay to recognize the fact that it was intentionally sexual. At the same time, I feel like a lot of people, the reason why they're saying it was sexually, it had sexual intentions is so they can bash her. So I feel like it's kind of hard to see where people are coming from here, like whether they're just trying to bash her or whether they're really just shocked that she would do something like that. The thing is, she's an adult. I feel like a lot of people sometimes forget that, especially with her past image. So if she wants to make a little sexual joke, more power to her. If some people are turned off about that and they think it's weird and they thought it was inappropriate, no matter what your age is, then that's fine too. Just don't be a Sulli fan. Like, I feel like it's a really weird debate, because it's like, oh, was it offensive? Was it not? Well, it's offensive to some people and it's not going to be offensive to others. If you find it offensive enough that you don't want anything to do with her, that's completely fine. I just think the stuff she uploads onto her Instagram is really interesting, because I feel like we're finally getting a look into her actual personality. Like I said, when you're an idol, you kind of have to guard your image a bit. You just really have to present yourself in a way where you can appeal to the most people possible. So doing something like this as an idol would be 100% a no-no, because if she's trying to get that young fan base, the mamas and daddies will not want that. They're youngins looking at that. But now that she's an actress and she's not so dependent on that fan base, especially that young fan base, I feel like she's just opening up and kind of feels free to do whatever she wants, which is kind of cool. In conclusion, why are y'all so obsessed with her Instagram? Come to my my Instagram, okay? Some of y'all people who be stalking her Instagram, please come to my Instagram. Follow me, all right? I can take the scrutiny. So that's it for this episode of Jay's Weekly Roundup. But as always, I want to know your opinions on what I talked about. How do you think that celebrities should deal with and handle haters? Do you know why hashtag We Need You Hoseok trended? Because I would really like to know. And lastly, what do you think about Sulli's recent Instagram video? Do you think it was intentionally sexual? And if so, does it really matter to you? Let me know down below and see you next time on Jay's Weekly Roundup. Bye-bye.